I'm here today with Bob McWhirter. Bob, thanks so much for joining us again.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So let's talk about tech stocks today. They've had a great run of it over, up in last year in 2017. They've come off a little bit now. Is now a good time to get into the sector?
I think so. It's obviously stock specific, hence the name of my company, Selective Asset Management. You have to be selective. But today's presentations at the conference, there were two companies that stood out that I think are worthwhile purchases today.
Let's talk about those in 1 second. But first, I wanted to ask you about valuations. Do you think they're fair right now, overvalued, undervalued, sort of as a broad scope?
I think they're fair. If you look at the work of John Aiken, from the strategist from TD Bank, he looks at the yield curve in the U.S. and looks at the difference between the 10-year and 2-year yield spread. Basically says it has narrowed but has not yet inverted. And based on his calculation, he figures we've still got another 2 years before the arrival of a bear market. As a result, technology focused on growth should end up continuing to do well.
And Bob, I know you have a couple picks for us, certainly companies that we've talked about here today at the StableView Tech Conference. What are the companies and why have they caught your eye?
Well, OnWave, which is a company that has a $140 million market cap, basically their specialty is microwaving used to accelerate the drying, and then the vacuum system basically pulls off the water moisture. They sell machines and receive an ongoing recurring revenue stream. And most recently, their sales were $19 million on a trailing 12-month basis, and they had $1 million worth of recurring revenue. The big action in the company is the NutriDried division, which makes a product called Moon Cheese. So they basically take products like cheddar cheese, pull the moisture out of it, and for a cheese seller, basically says, look, I can get $2 for a pound of cheese. Or I can get $5 for 2 ounces of cheese if I run it through their system. So they have sales currently through Costco in the U.S. and a variety of other locations. Second one is TrackX, symbol TKX. Market cap's $28 million. Basically, they track stuff. It's an enterprise asset management system, and clients end up losing approximately 10 to 12% of their returnable fleet per year. So whether it's beer kegs or whether it's the kind of blue bins that you see for bread products, etc., there's a lot of a loss. As a result, the payback on the TrackX system is pretty quick at about 9 months. So we think TrackX has got great opportunity, particularly the recurring revenue, and we think it's a strong buy at today's pricing.
Well, we appreciate those picks. Before we wrap up, Bob, any sort of final words to our viewers about either investing in the tech space now or perhaps your outlook for 2019?
Well, I think, again, you have to be very selective in these companies. There are concerns, as you mentioned earlier, potentially about stretched valuations. But the companies that I particularly favor are ones with recurring revenue and or backlog. So you've got a couple of other companies, meaning in this case, companies that have $70 million worth of backlog over the next 3 years. A company with a significant $70 million backlog is Xebec, spelled X-E-B-E-C. X-Ray Bob Charlie is a stock symbol. The advantage is that they end up basically taking the methane gas from a garbage dump, pull out the nitrogen and other stuff, and can return pure methane. They've just done a deal with the City of Toronto to end up saying all the green bin material, shouldn't say all, some of the green bin material that the City of Toronto uses. So a pretty big opportunity both in the kind of green renewable energy space as well. So overall, yes, there are concerns about valuations. But I think even here in Canada, there are some small industrial companies that we've mentioned that I think are reasonably priced with pretty solid futures ahead of them based on the backlogs that they seem to have and recurring revenue.
Well, Bob, thank you very much once again. And there you have it, some tips and stock picks from Bob McWhirter at Selective Asset Management. From StableView TECH18, I'm Angela Hermantis for SmallCapPower.